Hello everyone and welcome back to Jacklet Educational Channel. So this is the part 9 for the NET 2020 Environmental Science paper solution. Here we are going to discuss important concepts and get ready with your notes so that you can note down the important points, and make sure you have joined our Telegram group for the daily quizzes which will definitely help you in the examination. So the group name is Learn for the Environment, link will be provided in the description, and this video is really going to be very interesting. So let's start today's video. So the first question is on your screen. The question is, in the A weighting network used in the noise measurements, sound of which of the following frequencies would require the least correction? So your options were 31.5, 125,000 and 12,500 Hz. So before knowing the answer for this question, we should know what are weighting network, what is noise measurement. So all these things we'll know in the next slide. So let us move to the next slide. So first let us know why these frequency weightings are used. So for a sound level meter or noise dosimeter, so these are for the measurement of sound, to measure and report the noise level that represent what we hear. Yes, what we hear. To represent that noise level, frequency weightings are used. So what are these? These are actually electronic filters, yes, within the instrument that adjust the way the instrument measures the noise. So these are the weightings, frequency weightings, which are electronic filters to represent what we hear through the sound level meter or noise dosimeter. And we should know the most frequently used weightings which we see on the sound level of modern days noise dosimeter are weighting A, that is A weighting, C weighting and Z weighting. So this table represents the center frequency which is in Hertz, effective band which is in Hertz, A weighting and C weighting value in decibel. So here we will know that 0 is the A weighting. That means it shows that this is the least correction needed in the A weighting and it is for 1000 frequency level. Similarly, for the C weighting, what is the value for the least correction? So that will be in the three categories, in the three place, that is for the 250, 500 and 1000 frequency. So why I am telling that these are the least correction, that means no correction is required, that is 0 correction required. But in A weighting, maximum correction is required as per this table in the 31.5 frequency hertz level, that you can see minus 39.4 is the maximum correction required in the A weighting. Similarly, for maximum correction in the C weighting, these are two values again, there is minus 3 are the correction and the values are 31.5 again frequency in hertz and 8000 frequency in hertz. So here two things you have to remember, the most and the least correction required for the frequencies of A and C weighting. Let's move to the question and we'll answer. So here the answer will be option number 3, that is 1000 Hz. It will require the least correction in the A weighting network, that is the 0 correction value. So I hope you are able to understand. Let's move to the next question. So the next question is on your screen and it is about the statements, because nowadays the question are asked like this, that is statements will be given and you have to answer. The statement 1 states, in a clear water, the reflectance is very high in the visible region of the electromagnetic spectrum. Statement 2 is telling that pure water strongly absorbs the radiation from the mid infrared spectral region. So ये कह रहा है कि प्योर पानी जो है वो स्ट्रांगली एब्जॉर्ब करता है रेडिएशन कौन से रीजन में, मिड इंफ्रारेड स्पेक्ट्रल रीजन में. सो अब हमें एनालिसिस करना है, सो वी हैव टू एनालाइज दिस एंड हियर वी विल सिलेक्ट द करेक्ट ऑप्शन एज ऑप्शन नंबर 4. यस, हियर स्टेटमेंट 1 इज कंप्लीटली इनकरेक्ट. जी हाँ, ये इनकरेक्ट स्टेटमेंट है, बिकॉज इन क्लियर वाटर the reflectance is low in the visible region of the electromagnetic spectrum, not very high. But statement 2 is correct, that pure water strongly absorbs the radiation from the mid infrared spectral region. So these are the concept you should know. Clear water में सबसे कम होता है, very less the reflectance in the visible region, but pure water strongly absorb the radiation in the mid infrared region of the electromagnetic spectrum. So let's move to the next question. The next question is again statement kind of. Statement 1, let us read first. Statement 1 states, cyclonic wind flow in the northern hemisphere is counterclockwise. That means it is telling that in the northern hemisphere of our earth, the cyclone movement is anti-clockwise. Anti-clockwise is meaning the counterclockwise. So let's read the second statement. The second statement states, if you stand with your back to the wind in the northern hemisphere, low pressure will be to your left and high pressure will be to your right. So this is the two statements, and here I will tell you the answer, then I will go for the concept behind that. So here both the statements are correct. Yes, cyclonic wind in the northern hemisphere is anti-clockwise, and the second statement is also correct. So for second statement we have to move to the next slide. So this concept in meteorology or atmospheric science is from the Ballard's law, that is Bayes-Ballard's law. So it is telling that in northern hemisphere, if a person stands with his back to the wind, then the atmospheric pressure is low towards its left and it is high, that is the atmospheric pressure is high towards its right hand side, and in the southern hemisphere it is reverse. That means in southern hemisphere towards its left it will be high and towards its right it will be low, that is atmospheric pressure. So that is the reverse of this phenomena. So what it says in this picture, we will know that if this person is standing with his back to the wind, then what will happen, this is his left hand. So left hand side will be having the low pressure zone and right hand side will be having the high pressure zone. But if it will be standing in the southern hemisphere, then what will be happening, then the left hand side will be having the high pressure and the right hand side will be having the low pressure region. So this is all about the Bayes-Ballard's law, very frequently asked concept asked in the environmental science entrances. But you should know one more thing. Yes, what is that? In the equatorial region, that is in the equator region of our earth, this law will be not applicable. Why? Because there is weak Coriolis effect. So this Coriolis effect which is produced by the earth's rotation, it is weak in the equatorial region of our earth. So here all this phenomena, why they are taking place, so in northern hemisphere this is taking place because the wind is traveling counterclockwise or anti-clockwise around the low pressure zone, and in the southern hemisphere wind is traveling in the clockwise direction in the low pressure zone in southern hemisphere. So what we learned from this question, the Bayes-Ballard's law we learned how the person is standing in the northern and southern hemisphere, what will be the direction of the pressure, atmospheric pressure, and we learned that equatorial region does not obey this law because there is the weakness in the Coriolis effect. So let's move to the next question. So the next question is assertion and reasoning kind of, which is from the theoretical concept from the statistics. So let's read the assertion statement first. Assertion statement states, regression analysis is suitable for two variables having a linear causal relationship between them. And the reason states, the causal relationship between two variables is never curvilinear. So here, by analyzing those two statements, we can say that A is correct but R is not the correct statement. Why? Because the relationship that is causal between two variables can be curvilinear. Yes, what is curvilinear we'll know. So we should note down first, regression analysis is suitable for two variables having a linear causal relationship, but it can be also curvilinear in the shape. So we'll know in this two picture that what is the difference between linear relationship and curvilinear relationship. So these are two variables x and y, and what is this linear relationship? It is the linear line shape, that is the straight line for the relationship showing between x and y. It can be positive, it can be negative, but what is curvilinear relationship? It will be in the shape of curve. So linear line but in the curve shape it will be going. So here linear, then curve, linear. So it is called as the curvilinear relationship which can exist between the causal relationship between two variables. So I hope you have able to understand what is linear and curvilinear relationship. Curve plus linear, it is curvilinear. Let's move to the next question. The next question is coming up from the solid waste management, and the question is, considering the following points about the incineration process of solid waste, we have to identify what are the correct points for the solid waste management incineration process. So first we'll read one by one. First it is telling incineration process of solid waste is an oxidation process, very correct. Next is the two major combustible chemical elements are carbon and hydrogen, it is also very correct. Next thing is cellulose in the bio waste is transformed into organic acid. So this is not correct statement. Yes, this will be wrong. Similarly, excess source of air is not necessary in the case of incineration process of solid waste is also absolutely wrong, because oxidation means oxygen is required. Oxygen is required means air is required. So here this statement will be wrong. Only A and B will be correct. That means option number 3 will be the correct option. And we will know what are the products from the cellulose when it is burnt through the incineration process of solid waste. So this is the general equation for the reaction of the cellulose, which we have taken wood as the example. So cellulose formula will be C6H10O5. When it reacts with oxygen and it burns through the incineration process, what happens? It will give rise to carbon dioxide, water and other chemicals, but it will not give rise to the organic acid. So it is not at all concerned with the burning of cellulose. So here we have discussed what is the general equation for the cellulose or wood burning. Carbon dioxide and water are the major product. Let's move to the next question. So the next question is coming up from the POPs. POPs means persistent organic pollutants, and we have to identify which are the examples of POPs. So the options are dioxin, VOCs, PCBs, furans and organochlorine pesticide. So here the correct option will be option number 4. Yes, A, C, D, E are the examples, that is dioxin, polychlorinated biphenyls, furans and organochlorine pesticide are the example of persistent organic pollutants, but VOCs are not the example of POPs because they are volatile in nature. They will not persist, they will not stay longer in the environment. From the word itself you can recognize that it is not suitable. Persistent means it will stay for several years, but volatile means it will simply disappear. So let's know the important POPs and the definition. So this table is very important. This chart is very important. First of all, we'll know what are POPs. So POPs are also known as forever chemicals, that are persistent organic pollutants. So they are organic compounds. From the name we can know organic compounds that are resistant to environmental degradation. What does this mean? That means ये degrade नहीं होते easily, so they are not easily degradable in the environment, neither through chemical nor through biological nor through photolytic process. So this any process cannot break down this compound, they cannot degrade these compounds. That's why they are known as forever chemicals. They are very harmful for our environment. So we'll know there are 3 categories important. One is intentionally produced POPs, unintentionally produced POPs, and new candidate, that are new POPs in our atmosphere. So the examples for the intentionally produced POPs are aldrin, chlordane, DDT, dieldrin, endrin, heptachlor, hexachlorobenzene, Mirex, PCBs and toxaphene. Similarly, unintentionally produced POPs includes PCDDs, PCDFs, PCBs. So PCBs are also included in intentionally and unintentionally. There are variety of chemicals, and also hexachlorobenzene, it is considered as both intentionally produced and unintentionally produced POPs. And new candidate POPs includes PBDEs. So here I would like to say that dioxins are collective term for a group of environmental contaminants that include certain dioxin, furans and dioxin like PCBs that are polychlorinated biphenyl. So dioxin is a group collective term for the dioxin, furan and also some of the dioxin like PCBs. But we should also know that furans and dioxins are the very important POPs, but why they are not mentioned over here? They are hidden in these 2 things. Yes, the full form of PCDD is polychlorinated dibenzoparadioxin. So this D is the determination for the dioxin. Similarly, PCDFs, the full form is polychlorinated dibenzofurans. So this F is for furans. So these dioxin and furans, they are included here. No need to get confused. And you have to tell me in the comment section what is the full form of PBDE. So this is for you, the task to find what is the full form of PBDE. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. You have learned something new from here. Don't forget to subscribe the channel, hit that notification icon to get all further updates. And I remind you again, join Telegram group for daily quizzes and to prepare more effectively. See you guys in our next video. Till then, keep smiling and believe in yourself.